Good morning, first grade friends. Welcome to week 2, day 2 of Fundations. As you notice on our letter chart behind me, we have added a couple new letters that we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and get started with reviewing our letters. And today I promise that when I do skywriting, the letters will be facing the right way, hopefully. It's hard doing it in the computer because everything wants to go backwards. All right, my first alpha friend, remember, Benny Bear. All uppercase letters, remember, are skyline letters. Lowercase, start at the skyline, down to the grass line, trace up, circle around for Benny Bear's belly, and close on the grass line. B, bear, b, B, bear, b, B, bear, b, B, bear, b. Our next friend, Fifi Fish, is a skyline letter as well. So we start and we hook up to the skyline, down to the grass line, cross over at the plane line. F, fish, F, fish, F, fish, F, fish. Our next skyline letter, alpha friend, Tiggy Tiger. Again, on this chart, it doesn't show it as a skyline, but we do our letter T, skyline, down to the grass line, and we cross over at the plane line. T, tiger, t, T, tiger, t, T, tiger, t, T, tiger, t. Our letter M is a plain line letter. Remember, our plain line is in the middle. It's the dash line. We don't want to go over that dash line, or I like to tell everyone that our letters will float away into the sky. So we start at our plain line, down to the grass line, and remember, like our camel, trace back up, hump over, down to the grass line, trace back up, hump over, down to the grass line. So here we have Mimi Mouse, M mouse, M mouse, M mouse, M mouse, Our next friend is Nile Noodle, another plain line letter. So we start in the middle line, straight down to the grass line, trace up, and one hump over down to the grass line. N noodle, N noodle, N noodle, N noodle, Our first vowel that we talked about was our letter I, another plain line letter. Start at the plain line, straight down to the grass line, go back up, and put his dot on top. And this is Iggy Iguana. I iguana, I iguana, I iguana, I iguana, Our next vowel, remember our vowels are in red, is our letter U, another plain line letter for umbrella. Start at the plain line, curve down, swoop back up, and give him the kickstand so that the U can stand up. So think of being an owl. Remember, start at the plain line, swoop down like you're going to get that mouse, back up to the plain line, and kickstand. U umbrella, U umbrella, U umbrella, U umbrella, Our next friend is Cali Cat. This is a plain line letter, a curved plain line or rounded plain line, almost like we're going to make the O, but we don't close it. So we start a little below the plain line, hook up, just like our letter F, and circle around and bring it a little bit above the grass line. C, cat, k, C, cat, k, C, cat, k, C, cat, k. Our next friend is a vowel, another rounded plain line letter, kind of like when we write the number 0. This is Ozzy Octopus, and we start at the plain line, circle around, and come back up until we close. O, octopus, O, octopus, O, octopus, O, octopus, Another rounded letter is our vowel A, Andy Apple. So we have our lowercase a. We're going to start a little under the plain line, just like our letter C. Circle around, come back up, give them the kickstand. So it looks like a letter O with a kickstand behind it. So we have A, apple, A, apple, A, apple, A, apple, Our first worm line letter that we learned about, Gertie Goose. Same thing, very much like an O, but we have that hook to go down and get that worm. So I'm going to start at the plane line, circle round this way, come back up, and give a hook. So circle round, come back up, give them the hook. G, goose, g, G, goose, g, G, goose, g, G, goose, g. We have two new friends today. We have Dudley Duck, who is a skyline letter with a rounded base. Very similar to Benny Bear. So we're going to talk about how we can know the difference between a B and a D. I want you to notice Dudley Duck. His body is standing nice and tall, and he's waving those little tail feathers right behind him. Okay, so this is how we're going to use our alpha friends to help us remember that. So we start at the skyline, straight down to the grass line, trace up, and curve around to give Dudley Duck his tail feathers that are behind him. D, duck, d, D, duck, d, D, duck, d, D, duck, d. Finally today we have another rounded letter, our letter S, who is a plain line letter, and this is Sammy Seal. So we're going to start a little under the plain line, curve up, and we're going to swoop down and around, just like a snake. So we're going to curve up to the plain line, circle round to the grass line. So we have S, seal, S, seal, S, seal, S, seal. All right, boys and girls, Mrs. Robbins is going to do her best to skywrite these letters so that they show up the right way for you. Okay, our letter B, remember we start all the way up at the skyline, straight down to the grass line, trace up, and circle around, sticking Benny Bear's belly out. That's how we're going to remember the difference between B and D. Benny Bear's belly sticks out in front of him. Here's his body, and his belly sticks way out in front of him. Okay, our letter F, we're going to curve up to the skyline, down to the grass line, and we're going to cross over at the plain line. Our letter T, we're going to start up at the skyline, straight down to the grass line, cross over at the plain line. Our letter M, remember, look at Baby Echo's going to be in the middle, not way up high anymore. He's at the plain line. Straight line down, trace up, hump over one, down to the grass line, trace back up, hump over down to the grass line. Our letter N, just like our letter M, right here we're going to start the plain line, down to the grass line, trace back up, hump over down to the grass line. Letter I, remember we started the plain line, straight line down to the grass line, and dot on the top, kind of like his hat. U for umbrella, we're going to start again at the plain line, swoop down to the grass line, curve up, and give him his kickstand down to the grass line. Letter C, remember we start right under the plain line, curve up, circle down to the grass line, and come back up. Letter O, we're going to start at that plain line, and we're going to circle down, around, and come back up to meet back at the top at the plain line. Letter A, we're going to start just like a letter C, a little under the plain line. We're going to curve up, down to the grass line, trace up, and give him his kickstand. Letter G, we're going to start a little bit just like that letter C, underneath the plain line, circle around, come back up, and all the way down to the worm line and give him his hook to go get those worms so he can go fishing. Okay, we have two new letters, our letter D and our letter S. So for the letter D, remember, he's a plain line letter, so look at Baby Echo way up at the sky. Okay, we're going to go all the way down to the grass line, trace back up, and circle around. Stick out Dudley Duck's tail feathers. He's waddling and shaking his feathers as he goes. Let's do that one more time. Straight line down to the grass line, up, and circle around to give him his feathers to waddle as he goes. And our letter S. We're going to start a little under the plane line. We're going to go up to the plane line, come down, and we're going to snake around, down, and up. S is a little tricky. We're going to get used to that one. Okay? So we're going to start a little under the plane line, circle up, come down, slither around, down, and slither back up. Okay, I want to show you real quickly that this letter formation chart shows you our skyline letters, our plane line letters, and our rounded letters. So I'm going to break them into those categories. So let's see. Let's do all of our skyline letters first. So we have our B, skyline down to the grass line, trace back around. There's our B. We have now the letter D. So I want you to notice B, Benny Bear is standing tall, sticking his belly out. Letter D, we have our skyline down to the grass line. And Dudley Duck, he's waving his little tail feather as he goes. Okay, our letter F is a skyline letter. And our last skyline letter for now is our letter T. Okay, now we're going to look at those rounded letters, all of them that kind of curve. So we have, and I'm just going to go through our alphabet, we have A, we have C, notice they're plain line too, aren't they? Okay, the letter G is a rounded letter, but this is the one that's going to reach down and get the worm. So it looks a lot like a letter A, and then all of a sudden, whoop, scoop down and get the worm. Okay, our next one we have, Mrs. Robbins is cheating and using the chart behind me. We have our letter O. And then our S. This is the one you're going to really want to practice today, that letter S, because we curve around and up. Okay, and then we have just our regular plain line letters. I had to think about that for a minute. So we have our letter I. That's just a regular plain line letter. We have our letter M, who is a regular plain line letter. Our letter N, who is a regular plain line letter. And our letter U. Swoop down, back up, and give a kickstand. All right. So today what I want you to do is go ahead and practice writing your letters. Remember the ones who go all the way to the skyline, to the plane line. Hopefully all the letters turned out today, and I will see you back here tomorrow for some new letters. Have a great day.